Motherhood really lets people go. The words sliced through the ballroom like a blade through silk. Josephine Carter's champagne glass stopped halfway to her lips. Around her, 300 people in designer gowns and tailored suits went silent. The kind of silence that has teeth. Her son Bradley stood beneath the crystal chandelier, hand resting casually on the bar, smiling like he'd just told a joke worth remembering. Beside him, his wife Nina, navy gown smoothed over her waist, posture straight as a knife, froze mid-breath. The colleague who'd complimented Nina's elegance cleared his throat, laughed uncomfortably, walked away. Across the room, a blonde woman in a red dress, too young, too smug, too familiar, pressed her lips together to stop a smile. Josephine's chest tightened. She knew that smile. She knew that silence. She'd lived inside both for 40 years. The ballroom smelled like expensive perfume and ambition. The kind of corporate gala where careers were made over salmon and champagne, where the wrong joke could cost you everything. Josephine had worn her best dress, deep emerald, elegant, but not trying too hard. She'd been proud tonight. Proud of Bradley's promotion track. Proud of the family she'd built from nothing. Now, standing 20 feet away, watching her daughter-in-law's smile crack at the edges, Josephine felt something older than pride. Shame. Because she recognized the performance. The way Bradley tilted his head. The casual cruelty delivered like a compliment. The need to diminish his wife to impress someone watching. She'd married a man exactly like that. His stepfather, Harold, dead 5 years now, had perfected the art of the public insult. Small cuts, always wrapped in humor, always impossible to call out without looking sensitive. You're being dramatic, Joe. It was just a joke. She'd believed him. Believed silence was strength. Believed enduring meant winning. She was wrong. And now her son, the boy she'd raised to be better, to be different, stood beneath a chandelier, mocking his wife's postpartum body while a mistress watched. Notice how you're still here? You're different from the ones who already clicked away. People like you subscribe. So, why haven't you? Nina didn't move, didn't cry, didn't flinch. She lifted her chin, smoothed her dress over her waist, smiled at no one. Josephine knew that smile too. It was the smile you wore when 300 people were watching and breaking down wasn't an option. The smile that cost more than the gown. The smile that carved pieces out of you every time you used it. Bradley turned back to the bar, already ordering another drink, already moving on. But Josephine couldn't move. Her feet were cement. Her pulse was thunder. She watched Nina excuse herself from the small circle of colleagues, graceful, composed, dignity intact, and walk toward the terrace doors. Alone. No one followed. Not Bradley. Not the friends who'd laughed at his joke. Not the colleagues who'd looked away. Josephine's gaze shifted back to her son. He was laughing now. Easy. Relaxed. The blonde woman had moved closer, saying something that made him grin. Sloane. Josephine knew her name. Knew she worked in Bradley's department. Knew she was 28 and childless and wore red dresses like declarations of war. Knew Bradley had been seen with her. At lunches that ran long. At client dinners Nina wasn't invited to. She'd told herself it was nothing. She'd told herself Bradley wasn't Harold. She'd lied. The ballroom spun. Not from champagne. Josephine hadn't touched a drop, but from the weight of recognition. This was the moment. 40 years ago, Josephine had stood in a different room, wearing a different dress, feeling the exact same humiliation radiate from her husband's mouth. Her sister had pulled her aside afterward. He's just stressed, Joe. Marriage requires sacrifice. You're being too sensitive. Josephine had nodded, swallowed the hurt, gone home, stayed, and sacrifice became silence. Silence became invisibility. Invisibility became 40 years. Now, watching her daughter-in-law walk alone toward the terrace, shoulders back, head high, refusing to give anyone the satisfaction of seeing her break, Josephine understood something she'd spent 60 years avoiding. Silence hadn't protected her. It had erased her. And she'd raised a son who learned cruelty from the man she'd let humiliate her in living rooms and dinner tables and backyard barbecues. A son who thought diminishing women was power. A son she no longer recognized. Josephine set her champagne glass on a passing tray. She smoothed her emerald dress. She walked toward the terrace. Behind her, Bradley laughed again. Loud. Performative. Sloane's hand brushed his arm. Josephine didn't look back. Across the ballroom, a man in a charcoal suit watched everything. Roland Ashworth, CEO, 62, built his empire on one principle: decency cannot be faked. He'd seen Bradley's performance, seen the wife's dignity, seen the mistress's satisfaction, seen the mother follow the wounded daughter-in-law outside. Roland pulled out his phone, typed a single message to HR. Document tonight. Leadership track review Monday. Then he finished his drink and watched the terrace doors close behind Josephine Carter. He didn't know her name yet, but he recognized spine when he saw it. Outside, the city stretched below in a glittering sprawl of lights and noise. The terrace was cold, empty, except for Nina. She stood at the railing, gripping the iron so tightly her knuckles had gone pale. Her breath came shallow, controlled, refusing tears the satisfaction of falling. Josephine stepped onto the terrace. The door clicked shut behind her. Nina didn't turn. Josephine walked forward slowly, stopped 3 feet away. The wind pulled at their dresses. The city hummed below. I stayed, Josephine said quietly. Nina turned, eyes wide, wet but not spilling. 40 years, Josephine continued, voice steady despite the crack forming in her chest. 3 babies. Every time my body changed, he reminded me I was less. Nina's breath hitched. I stayed because I thought peace was worth more than pride. Josephine's hands trembled. She clasped them together. I was wrong. The words hung between them. Confession. Warning. Permission. Nina's lips parted. What did it cost you? Josephine met her daughter-in-law's eyes. Everything, she whispered. And for the first time in 60 years, Josephine Carter told the truth. The terrace was silent except for the hum of the city below and the muffled noise of the gala behind glass doors. Nina stared at Josephine like she'd just spoken a language Nina had been trying to learn for years but never heard aloud. Everything. Nina's voice was barely a whisper. Josephine nodded. Her throat felt tight. Myself. My voice. The woman I was before I learned to shrink. Nina turned back to the railing. Her fingers loosened slightly. How long before you couldn't remember her anymore? The woman you were. Josephine stepped closer. 5 years. Maybe less. The wind picked up. Nina's dress rippled against her legs. She'd chosen navy because Bradley said it was slimming. She'd worn shapewear that cut into her ribs. She'd skipped dinner so the dress would lay flat. And he'd mocked her anyway. I thought. Nina's voice cracked. She steadied it. I thought if I did everything right, lost the weight fast enough, stayed elegant, stayed quiet about the late nights and the business trips, and the way Sloane's name comes up in every conversation. She stopped. Breathed. I thought he'd see me again. Josephine's heart fractured, because she remembered that hope. The desperate, foolish hope that silence would be rewarded, that endurance would be noticed, that love would return if you just made yourself smaller, quieter, easier. He sees you, Josephine said softly. That's why he did it. Nina turned sharply. What? Men like Bradley. Men like the one I married. They humiliate women who remind them of their own smallness. Josephine's voice steadied. Hardened. You're brilliant. Beautiful. You gave him a child. You make him look good just by standing next to him. And he hates that he needs you more than you need him. Nina's eyes filled again. So he takes pieces. Josephine continued. Small ones. Public ones. Until you forget you were ever whole. The terrace doors opened behind them. Both women turned. A woman in a silver gown stepped out, tall, dark-skinned, elegant. Monique. Nina's best friend since college. The woman who'd stood beside Nina at her wedding. Who'd held her hand through 23 hours of labor 8 months ago. Monique's expression was careful. Apologetic. Nina's face went cold. I was looking for you, Monique said gently. She glanced at Josephine. Smiled politely. Looked back at Nina. Are you okay? No, Nina said flatly. Monique stepped closer. He didn't mean it the way it sounded. Yes, he did. Silence. Monique sighed. Nina, you know Bradley's under pressure. The promotion. The merger. He's just cruel. Nina finished. The word you're looking for is cruel, Monique. Monique flinched. I'm trying to help. By making excuses for him? Nina's voice rose slightly. Still controlled. Still measured. But sharp now. You stood next to him in there. You nodded when he said motherhood. Let's people go. You smiled. I didn't. You did. Nina's hands shook. She pressed them against her stomach. You've been doing it for months. Every time I mention the late nights. Every time I say Sloane's name. You tell me I'm being paranoid. That marriage is hard. That I need to be patient. Josephine watched Monique's face shift. Guilt flickered there. Then defensiveness. I'm trying to keep you from making a mistake, Monique said quietly. Bradley's a good man. Bradley humiliated me in front of 300 people while his mistress watched. Nina's voice didn't waver. If that's a good man, I don't want one. Monique opened her mouth. Closed it. Josephine spoke instead. I had a friend like you once, she said to Monique. Calm. Matter of fact. She told me to be patient. To sacrifice. To understand that men need grace. Josephine paused. 20 years later, at my husband's funeral, she pulled me aside and said, I always wondered why you stayed. I asked her why she never told me to leave. She said, I didn't want to be responsible if it didn't work out. Monique stiffened. She thought she was protecting me. Josephine continued. But she was protecting herself. From the discomfort of watching me choose courage. Nina looked at Josephine. Something passed between them. Recognition. Alliance. Monique stepped back. I should go. Yes, Nina said. You should. Monique hesitated. Then turned and walked back inside. The terrace doors closed. Nina exhaled. Long shaky. I don't have many people left now, she said quietly. Josephine moved beside her at the railing. You have yourself. That's more than I had. They stood in silence. The city glittered. Cold and indifferent and beautiful. What did you do? Nina asked. After you realized you'd stayed too long? Josephine's jaw tightened. I waited for him to die. Nina turned sharply. 5 years ago, Harold had a heart attack in his sleep, Josephine said. No emotion. Just fact. I woke up next to him and felt relief. She looked at Nina. That's what 40 years of silence bought me. Relief at widowhood. Nina's breath caught. Don't wait for death to give you permission to live, Josephine said. Her voice was steel now, forged in something older than tonight. Don't become me. Nina wiped her eyes quickly. Nodded. Inside the ballroom, the music shifted. A slow song. Couples moved to the dance floor. Through the glass, they could see Bradley. He was dancing. Not with his wife. With Sloane. Her red dress bright against his black suit. Her hand on his shoulder. His hand on her waist. 300 people watched. 300 people saw. Nina's face went very still. Josephine watched her daughter-in-law. Watched the exact moment something inside her snapped. Not loudly. Not violently. Quietly. The way a bone breaks under sustained pressure. I want to leave, Nina whispered. Then leave, Josephine said. I have the baby. And the diaper bag. And I drove here with Bradley. You'll leave with me. Josephine's voice was final. I have a guest room. A crib from when my grandbaby visits. And a lawyer who specializes in making men like Bradley very, very uncomfortable. Nina looked at her. Eyes wide. Searching. You do that? For me? Josephine reached out. Took Nina's hand. Held it. I'm doing it for both of us, she said. For the women we were. And the women we're going to be. Nina squeezed her hand. Inside, Bradley dipped Sloane. She laughed. Loud enough to hear through the glass. Nina turned away. Let's go get my baby, she said. And Josephine smiled. Not the smile she'd worn for 40 years. A different one. Real. Monday morning arrived cold and sharp. Bradley Mercer sat in his corner office on the 42nd floor, tie perfectly knotted, coffee steaming beside his keyboard. Below, the city moved like ants in glass towers. Above, ambition hummed in the fluorescent lights. He felt good. The gala had gone exactly as planned. Connections made. Faces remembered. Sloane impressed. Nina would get over it. She always did. His phone buzzed. A calendar notification. 9 a.m. Meeting with Roland Ashworth and HR. Bradley frowned. He hadn't scheduled this. His assistant Sarah appeared in the doorway, middle-aged, efficient, perpetually unimpressed. Mr. Ashworth's office just called, she said flatly. They're ready for you. Bradley stood. Smoothed his jacket. Did they say what this is about? Sarah's expression didn't change. No. But something in her tone made his stomach tighten. He walked down the hall, past cubicles where colleagues looked up, then quickly away. Past the conference room where Sloane sat in a meeting, catching his eye through the glass. She smiled. He didn't smile back. The executive floor was quieter. Thicker carpet. Heavier doors. Roland Ashworth's office sat at the end like a throne room. Bradley knocked. "Come in." He stepped inside. Roland sat behind a mahogany desk, 62, silver-haired, sharp-eyed. Built his company from nothing. Legendary for his instincts about people. Beside him sat Victoria Chun, head of HR, tablet in hand. Expression neutral. No one smiled. Bradley's pulse kicked up. "Bradley," Roland said. Gestured to the chair across from him. "Sit." Bradley sat. Silence stretched. Long enough to hear the clock tick. "We need to discuss Saturday night," Roland said finally. Bradley's throat went dry. "The gala?" "Yes." Victoria tapped her tablet. "Multiple witnesses reported an incident involving you and your wife." Bradley's mind raced. "Incident?" "You publicly mocked her physical appearance," Victoria said. Calm. Clinical. Quote, "Motherhood really lets people go." This occurred in front of approximately 300 employees, clients, and stakeholders. The room tilted slightly. "That was," Bradley stammered. "That was taken out of context." "What context makes humiliating your spouse appropriate at a corporate event?" Roland's voice was quiet. Lethal. Bradley opened his mouth. Closed it. "You were observed dancing with a subordinate," Victoria continued. "Sloane Whitman, junior analyst in your department, while your wife was visibly absent. We were just. 4 witnesses reported seeing Ms. Whitman's hand on your lower back," Victoria said. 3 reported what appeared to be intimate conversation. 2 reported you leaving the event together. Bradley's heart hammered. "I gave her a ride." "Stop." Roland raised a hand. "Don't insult my intelligence." Silence. Roland leaned forward. "I built this company on one principle, Bradley. Decency. Not talent. Not ambition. Decency. Because talent without character is just efficient cruelty." Bradley swallowed. "You have talent," Roland continued. "You're brilliant at numbers. Exceptional at client relations. You were on track for VP within 2 years. Were. Past tense." Bradley's chest tightened. "But Saturday night, I watched you humiliate a woman who gave you a child," Roland said. "I watched you perform cruelty to impress a mistress. I watched 300 people see exactly who you are when no one's holding you accountable." "Mr. Ashworth." "I'm not finished." Roland's voice hardened. "Your leadership track is frozen. Effective immediately. No promotion consideration. No team expansion. No client-facing events without prior approval." The words hit like punches. "This is documented," Victoria added. "A formal reprimand in your file. Mandatory leadership ethics training. Quarterly reviews to assess behavioral improvement." Bradley's face burned. "You're punishing me for my personal life." "I'm holding you accountable for conduct that reflects on this company," Roland said. "You represent us. And Saturday night, you represented everything we stand against." Bradley's hands clenched. "This is because of Nina. Your wife's name will not leave your mouth in this office." Roland's voice went cold. "Do you understand me?" Bradley froze. "She conducted herself with more grace and dignity in 5 minutes than you showed in 5 hours, Roland continued. "And if I hear you've retaliated against her in any way, professionally, personally, financially, I will end your career myself. Are we clear?" Bradley's jaw worked. "Yes." "Good." Roland leaned back. "You have talent, Bradley. But talent means nothing if you're a man no one respects. Fix yourself. Or leave." Victoria stood. "You're dismissed." Bradley rose on shaking legs. "Walk to the door." Roland's voice stopped him. "One more thing." Bradley turned. "Your mother called my office this morning," Roland said. "Josephine Carter. We spoke for 30 minutes. Bradley's blood went cold. "She told me about your stepfather," Roland continued. "About the 40 years she spent enduring exactly what you did to your wife on Saturday. She said she stayed silent because she thought that's what strength looked like." He paused. "She said she won't let another woman make that mistake. Especially not because of her son." Bradley couldn't breathe. "She asked me to hold you accountable," Roland said. Because she failed to do it when it mattered. She won't fail again. The floor disappeared beneath Bradley's feet. Go, Roland said quietly, and decide who you want to be. Bradley left. The door closed behind him. He stood in the hallway, alone, humiliated, career shattered, and pulled out his phone. 12 missed calls from his mother. 8 texts from Nina. The last one, sent an hour ago. The baby and I are staying with your mother until you prove you understand what you broke. Don't come to the house. Bradley's hands shook. He scrolled to Sloane's name. Typed. Can we talk? 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. No response. He called her. Straight to voicemail. He walked back to his office, closed the door, sat in his chair, stared at the city below, and for the first time in his life, Bradley Mercer realized he was alone. Completely. Deservedly. Alone. His phone buzzed. A text from his mother. You have 2 choices now. Become the man I should have raised, or lose everything worth keeping. I'm done protecting you from consequences. Bradley read it 3 times. Then he put his head in his hands, and the room went very, very quiet. If you're still here, you're hooked. You need to know how this ends. Subscribe now, because part 4 is where everything gets worse before it gets better. Bradley didn't go home. He sat in his office until the sun set, and the city lights blinked on like accusations. His phone stayed silent. No calls from Sloane. No texts. Just the cold screen reflecting his face back at him. At 7 p.m., he finally left. The house was dark when he pulled into the driveway. Nina's car was gone. The porch light was off. Even the usual warm glow from the living room, gone. He unlocked the door. Silence. The kind that echoes. He flipped the light switch. The house looked the same. Couch in place. Coffee table centered. But something was missing. The baby's swing. Gone. The diaper bag that always hung by the door. Gone. He walked to the nursery. Empty crib. Bare changing table. The mobile that played lullabies. Gone. His chest tightened. She really left. He pulled out his phone. Dialed Nina. It rang once. Then. The person you are trying to reach is not available. Blocked. He tried his mother. She answered on the 3rd ring. Where's Nina? His voice came out harder than he intended. Safe. Josephine's tone was calm. Unmoved. She's my wife. And you humiliated her publicly. Josephine didn't raise her voice. Didn't need to. You danced with another woman while 300 people watched your wife leave in tears. Did you think there wouldn't be consequences? Bradley's jaw clenched. You had no right to call my boss. I had every right. Josephine's voice hardened. I watched you become exactly what I spent 40 years enduring. I won't apologize for stopping you before you destroy that girl the way Harold destroyed me. I'm not Harold. You mocked your wife's postpartum body to impress a mistress. You are exactly Harold. Josephine paused. The only difference is I'm still alive to tell you the truth. Bradley paced the living room. I made one mistake. One public mistake. Josephine corrected. How many private ones, Bradley? How many late nights? How many lies about where you were and who you were with? Silence. That's what I thought. Josephine said quietly. Nina and the baby will stay with me until you prove you're capable of being the man you promised to be when you married her. And how exactly do I prove that? That's not my job to tell you. Josephine's voice softened slightly. But I'll say this. 40 years ago, if one person, just one, had told Harold that his cruelty had consequences, maybe I wouldn't have wasted my life waiting for him to change. Maybe I would have had the courage to leave. Bradley stopped pacing. I can't give myself that gift, Josephine continued. But I can give it to Nina. And I will. The line went dead. Bradley stood in the empty living room, phone in hand, and felt something unfamiliar crawl up his spine. Fear. Not of losing his job. Not of the frozen promotion track. Fear of losing the one thing he'd taken for granted. Nina. Across town, in Josephine's modest 2-bedroom home, Nina sat on the guest bed with her daughter asleep in the portable crib beside her. The room smelled like lavender and old books. Josephine had made up the bed with fresh sheets, left a glass of water on the nightstand, hung a spare robe on the back of the door. Small kindnesses. The kind Nina's own mother would have done if she were still alive. Nina's phone buzzed. A text from Monique. Can we talk? I didn't mean to hurt you. Nina stared at the screen. 3 months ago, She would have responded immediately, smoothed things over, made Monique feel better for making Nina feel small. Not tonight. She deleted the message. Another buzz. Unknown number. It's Sloan. We should talk about Bradley. Nina's stomach turned. She blocked the number without reading further. A soft knock on the door. Come in, Nina said. Josephine entered with 2 mugs of tea. She handed one to Nina and sat in the armchair by the window. He called, Josephine said. I know. Nina wrapped her hands around the mug. I blocked him. Josephine nodded approvingly. Good. They sat in comfortable silence. The baby made soft sleeping sounds. Outside, a dog barked somewhere down the street. I keep replaying it, Nina said quietly. The GALA. That moment when he said it. I keep thinking, was I imagining how cruel it sounded? Was I being too sensitive? No. Josephine's voice was firm. That's what they want you to think. That you're overreacting. Too emotional. Too difficult. It's how they keep you small. Nina's eyes filled. I hate that I still love him. Josephine reached over, took Nina's hand. Love and respect are not the same thing, she said gently. You can love someone and still know they're destroying you. The question is, what will you choose when you can't have both? Nina wiped her eyes. I don't know yet. That's okay. Josephine squeezed her hand. You don't have to know tonight. You just have to be safe. And you are. Nina nodded. The baby stirred. Nina stood, crossed to the crib, gently rocked it until her daughter settled again. Josephine watched her, saw the tenderness, the exhaustion, the strength Nina didn't even know she had yet. You're a good mother, Josephine said. Nina turned. How do you know? Because you left. Josephine's voice cracked slightly. You chose your daughter over keeping the peace. I never did that. I let my sons watch their stepfather diminish me. I taught them that cruelty was normal, that women endure. You didn't know? I knew. Josephine's eyes were distant, haunted. I just didn't think I deserved better. But you do. And so does that baby. Nina crossed back to the bed, sat beside Josephine. What if he doesn't change? Nina whispered. Josephine met her eyes. Then you'll know exactly who he is. And you'll choose yourself anyway. And what if I'm not strong enough? Josephine smiled sadly. You left a man who made you feel worthless. You're already stronger than you think. Nina's breath hitched. I'm terrified. Good, Josephine said. Fear means you're doing something that matters. They sat together in the quiet room. 2 women separated by age but united by the same wound. And for the first time in months, Nina felt something she'd almost forgotten. Hope. Dangerous, fragile hope. Meanwhile, Bradley sat alone in his empty house. He'd opened a bottle of whiskey, poured a glass, stared at it. His phone sat on the coffee table, dark, silent. He picked it up, scrolled through photos. Nina on their wedding day, radiant, laughing. Nina pregnant, glowing, hand on her belly. Nina in the hospital, exhausted, beautiful, holding their daughter for the first time. When had he stopped seeing her? When had impressing Sloan become more important than protecting Nina? When had he become his stepfather? His phone buzzed. A text from Sloan. I got called into HR today. They asked about us. I said nothing happened. Cover your tracks. Bradley stared at the message. She wasn't worried about him. She was worried about herself. He typed back. There is no us. Don't contact me again. He blocked her number. Then he sat in the dark and tried to remember the last time he'd told Nina he loved her. He couldn't. The CEO is watching. The grandmother is waiting. And the wife is learning she was never the problem. But can a man rebuild himself when everything he thought was power turns to ash? Wednesday afternoon, Nina received a call from an unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Hello, Mrs. Mercer? This is Roland Ashworth. Nina sat up straighter on Josephine's couch. The CEO, calling her directly. Mr. Ashworth. Her voice was careful. I apologize for the intrusion, Roland said. His tone was warm, respectful. I wanted to reach out personally. What happened at the gala, what my employee did to you, was unacceptable. I want you to know I've taken action. Nina's heart raced. I didn't ask for anything. I know. That's exactly why I'm calling. Roland paused. Women like you rarely ask for what they deserve. Men like your husband count on that. Nina's throat tightened. I've frozen Bradley's leadership track, Roland continued. Mandatory ethics training. Quarterly behavioral reviews. It's documented. Permanent. Nina closed her eyes. Relief and guilt crashed together. You didn't deserve what he did, Roland said quietly. And I won't have men in leadership positions who treat their families like collateral damage. Thank you, Nina whispered. There's something else. Roland's tone shifted. Your mother-in-law called me Monday morning. Josephine. We spoke for quite a while. Nina glanced toward the kitchen where Josephine was preparing lunch. She told me her story, Roland said. 40 years with a man who sounds remarkably like Bradley. She said she stayed silent because no one ever told her she deserved better. He paused. She's making sure you know you do. Tears burned Nina's eyes. She's a remarkable woman, Roland said. And so are you. I saw how you carried yourself Saturday night. Dignity under fire. That's leadership, Mrs. Mercer. Real leadership. Nina couldn't speak. If you ever need anything, references, legal resources, anything, you call my office directly. Understood. Yes, Nina managed. Thank you. Take care of yourself. And that baby. The line went dead. Nina sat holding the phone, tears streaming down her face. Josephine appeared in the doorway. What happened? Nina looked up. He called. The CEO. He said, her voice broke. He said I have dignity. That I'm a leader. Josephine crossed the room, sat beside her, pulled her close. You are, Josephine said firmly. And now you're starting to see it. That same afternoon, Bradley sat across from a court-appointed mediator in a sterile downtown office. Nina's lawyer, a sharp-eyed woman named Teresa Grant, sat beside an empty chair. Where's my wife? Bradley asked. Mrs. Mercer chose not to attend today's session, Teresa said calmly. She submitted her requests in writing. The mediator slid a folder across the table. Bradley opened it. Temporary separation agreement. His stomach dropped. He scanned the pages. Formal custody schedule. Financial responsibilities. Behavioral stipulations. One section was highlighted. Mr. Mercer will maintain zero contact with Miss Sloan Whitman, professional or otherwise, as a condition of shared custody. Violation will result in supervised visitation only. Bradley's face burned. She can't. She can, Teresa said. And she is. You created a hostile environment. You prioritized a mistress over your family. These are consequences. I never. Teresa slid a second folder across. Text records. Time-stamped. You and Ms. Whitman exchanged over 300 messages in the last 2 months. 47 contained disparaging remarks about your wife. Bradley's mouth went dry. Teresa opened the folder. Read aloud. Nina's been impossible lately. All she talks about is the baby. You get me in ways she never has. I married too young. Settled. Each sentence landed like a slap. Ms. Whitman forwarded these to Mrs. Mercer yesterday, Teresa said, along with several photos from the gala. You two looked quite comfortable. Bradley's vision blurred. Sloan sent these. Apparently, she was upset you blocked her, Teresa said. Hell hath no fury. Bradley wanted to throw up. Your wife is offering you a choice, Teresa continued. Sign this agreement. Prove you can co-parent respectfully. Attend counseling. Or she files for divorce and pursues full custody. She wouldn't. She already has the documentation. Teresa's voice was steel. Infidelity. Public humiliation. Creating an unsafe emotional environment. You'd be lucky to get weekends. The room spun. Bradley's hands shook as he picked up the pen. I need to talk to her. No. Teresa stood. You need to sign. Or leave. Those are your options. Bradley stared at the papers. 47 messages. 300 texts. 1 public humiliation. He destroyed everything. He signed. My mom said I'd never reach 1K subscribers telling stories this raw. She said nobody wants to feel this much. If she's wrong, if stories like this matter to you, subscribe. Help me prove that truth and pain and healing still mean something. That evening, Bradley went to his mother's house. He sat in his car for 10 minutes before getting out. The porch light was on. He could see movement through the window. Nina, holding the baby. Josephine beside her, laughing at something. A family. Without him. He knocked. Josephine answered. Her face was unreadable. I signed the papers, Bradley said quietly. I know. Teresa called. Can I see her? Please. Josephine studied him. Why? Because his voice cracked. Because I need her to know I'm sorry. Sorry for what, exactly? Josephine's tone was sharp. For mocking her? For cheating? For making her feel worthless? Which part are you sorry for, Bradley? He flinched. All of it. Words are cheap. Josephine crossed her arms. Harold apologized too. Every time. And then he did it again. And again. Until sorry meant nothing. Bradley's eyes burned. I'm not him. Then prove it. Josephine stepped closer. Her voice dropped. Lethal. Prove you can be alone and not blame her. Prove you can face consequences without playing victim. Prove you can look at that baby and realize she deserves a father who respects her mother. I want to try. Trying isn't enough. Josephine's voice broke. I watched you become everything I taught you not to be. And I stayed quiet because I didn't want to lose you. But I already lost you, Bradley. The day you chose cruelty over character. Bradley's face crumpled. Mom. No. She held up a hand. You don't get to call me that and make me weak. Not anymore. Silence. Behind Josephine, Nina appeared in the hallway. She held the baby against her shoulder. Her eyes met Bradley's. He saw it then. The woman he'd married, bright, hopeful, desperately in love, was gone. In her place stood someone harder, clearer, someone who'd stopped waiting for him to be better. I'm sorry, he whispered. Nina's expression didn't change. I know. Can we? No. Her voice was calm. Final. Not yet. Maybe not ever. You broke something, Bradley. And I don't know if it can be fixed. The baby made a sound. Nina adjusted her gently, turned away, disappeared into the house. Josephine looked at her son. Go home. Sit with what you've done. And decide if you're capable of becoming a man worth forgiving. She closed the door. Bradley stood on the porch alone. Inside, he heard the baby laugh. Heard Nina's voice, soft and warm. Heard his mother say something that made them both giggle. They were whole without him. Happy without him. And he had no one to blame but himself. He walked to his car. Sat in the darkness. And finally, let himself break. 2 weeks passed. Bradley went to work. Came home. Sat in silence. The house felt like a museum of his failures. The nursery he never used. The kitchen table where Nina used to leave notes. The bed that smelled like her lavender lotion. He attended the mandatory ethics training. Sat in a room with 8 other executives who'd demonstrated poor judgment. Listened to a facilitator talk about respect and accountability like foreign concepts. He was the only one who didn't check his phone. At night, he scrolled through photos. Weddings. Vacations. The hospital. Nina's face the first time she held their daughter. Exhausted. Radiant. Looking at him like he was everything. When had he stopped being everything? When had Sloane's attention mattered more than Nina's love? He couldn't pinpoint the moment. It had been gradual. A slow erosion. Late nights that became later. Compliments from Sloane that felt better than silence from Nina. The thrill of being wanted by someone who didn't need him to take out the trash or change diapers or remember anniversaries. Sloane had been easy. Nina had been real. And he'd chosen easy. His phone buzzed. A text from his brother Marcus. Wait, no. Not Marcus. His brother Jason. Mom told me what happened. You're an idiot. Bradley stared at the message. Typed back. I know. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Dad would be ashamed. Bradley's chest tightened. Their father, Josephine's first husband, had died when Bradley was 12. Cancer. He barely remembered him now. Just fragments. The way he laughed. The way he held their mother like she was precious. The way he never made her small. Dad would have told you to fight for her, Jason texted. Not with words. With action. You coming to Sunday dinner? Sunday dinner. The family tradition. Everyone gathered at Josephine's house. Everyone except him for the past 2 weeks. Am I invited? Bradley typed. Mom says you're always invited. But Nina and the baby come first. If you show up, you sit quiet and you listen. No excuses. No defending yourself. Understood. Bradley's hands shook. Understood. Sunday arrived cold and gray. Bradley stood on his mother's porch at 5 p.m. sharp, holding a bag of rolls he'd picked up from Nina's favorite bakery. A pathetic offering. He knew it. Jason opened the door, looked him up and down, stepped aside. The house smelled like roast chicken and cornbread. Voices floated from the kitchen, warm, familiar, painful. He walked in. Josephine stood at the stove. Jason's wife, Emily, set the table. Jason's 2 kids ran through the living room laughing. And there, in the corner, Nina sat in the rocking chair, feeding the baby. She looked up. Their eyes met. She looked away first. Bradley's heart sank. "You're here," Josephine said. "Not warm. Not cold. Just factual." "I brought rolls," Bradley said quietly. Josephine took them. "Thank you. Sit." He sat at the far end of the table, the chair he'd occupied since childhood. Jason sat across from him, Emily beside Nina. The kids climbed into their seats. Josephine brought the food, set it down, sat at the head of the table. "Grace," she said. Everyone bowed their heads. "Lord, thank you for this food," Josephine began. "Thank you for family, even the broken parts. Help us find our way back to each other, or help us find peace in the distance." "Amen. Amen," everyone echoed. Dinner was quiet. Utensils on plates. Requests for salt. Small talk about Jason's job and Emily's book club. No one asked Bradley how he was. No one looked at him. He was there, but invisible. The way Nina must have felt for months. The realization hit him like cold water. After dinner, Josephine served peach cobbler. The kids took theirs to the living room. Emily followed. Nina stood to leave. "Stay," Josephine said gently. "Please." Nina hesitated, then sat back down. Josephine looked at Bradley. "You've been quiet." "You told me to listen," Bradley said. "I did." Josephine folded her hands. "So listen now." "Nina has something to say." Nina stiffened. "Mom, you practiced it all week," Josephine said softly. "Say it." Nina looked at her daughter, sleeping in the carrier beside her. Took a breath. Then she looked at Bradley. "I don't trust you anymore," she said quietly. The words cut clean. "I don't trust that you see me," Nina continued. "I don't trust that you value me. I don't trust that you won't do this again the next time someone prettier or younger or easier comes along." Bradley's throat closed. "And I don't know if I can ever trust you again," Nina said. Her voice didn't waver. "Because trust isn't rebuilt with apologies. It's rebuilt with time and consistency and proof. And you haven't given me any of that." "I'm trying." "No," Nina said firmly. "You're sitting in silence because you have to. Because your job requires it. Because I required it. But I don't know if you've actually changed. Or if you're just waiting for this to blow over so things can go back to normal." Bradley opened his mouth, closed it, because she was right. Part of him, a part he hated, had been waiting. Waiting for Nina to soften. For his mother to forgive. For the consequences to fade. Waiting for easy. "I can't go back to who I was," Nina said. "The woman who made herself smaller so you could feel bigger. The woman who believed love meant enduring humiliation. She's gone, Bradley. And I'm not sorry." Her voice cracked on the last word. Josephine reached over, took Nina's hand. Bradley sat across from them, 2 women holding each other up, and realized he was completely alone. Not because they'd abandoned him, because he'd abandoned them first. "I don't know how to fix this," he whispered. "Neither do I," Nina said. And the silence that followed was the heaviest thing Bradley had ever carried. "You've stayed through the heartbreak, through the betrayal, through the devastation. If this story is healing something in you, subscribe. The light is coming. I promise." 3 weeks later, Bradley sat in Dr. Miriam Foster's office. Individual therapy, court-mandated, twice a week. He'd resented it at first, saw it as punishment, another hoop to jump through so Nina would consider letting him back. But on his 5th session, something cracked. Dr. Foster had asked a simple question. "When did you start hating your wife?" Bradley's head snapped up. "I never." "You humiliated her publicly," Dr. Foster said calmly. "That's not indifference. That's contempt. So I'll ask again. When did you start hating her?" Bradley stared at the woman across from him. Late 50s, gray hair, eyes that saw too much. "I don't hate Nina," he said. "Then what were you feeling when you said motherhood lets people go?" Bradley's jaw clenched. "I don't know." "Yes, you do." Silence. Dr. Foster waited. Patient. Unmovable. Bradley's hands twisted in his lap. "I felt invisible." "Invisible," Dr. Foster repeated. "Tell me more." "After the baby came, everything changed. Nina was exhausted all the time. Touched out. She barely looked at me. Barely spoke to me unless it was about diapers or feeding schedules or sleep deprivation. His voice rose. I felt like I didn't exist anymore. Like I'd been replaced. So you punished her for being a new mother. Bradley flinched. No. You mocked her body. You sought attention from another woman. You made her feel worthless because you felt neglected. Dr. Foster's voice was steady. Clinical. That's punishment, Bradley. The words landed like stones. I just wanted her to see me again, Bradley whispered. Did you ask her to? Silence. Did you tell her you felt invisible? Did you offer to help more so she'd have energy for you? Did you support her instead of resenting her? Bradley's throat burned. Or did you decide that her exhaustion was rejection? Dr. Foster leaned forward. That her struggle was about you? Bradley's hands shook. Your wife grew a human being inside her body, Dr. Foster said quietly. She pushed that baby into the world. Her body changed. Her hormones changed. Her entire identity changed. And instead of protecting her through that, you made it about your needs. Bradley's face crumpled. That's not love, Bradley. That's narcissism. The word hit like a fist. I'm not. You are. Dr. Foster's voice softened. But you don't have to stay that way. That's why you're here. Bradley buried his face in his hands. And for the first time, he didn't defend himself. He just listened. That night, Bradley sat at his kitchen table with a notebook. Dr. Foster's assignment. Write down every moment you chose yourself over Nina in the last year. He stared at the blank page for 20 minutes. Then he started writing. The night she asked me to stay home from the client dinner because she was struggling. I went anyway. The morning she cried because her body didn't feel like hers anymore. I told her she was being dramatic. The time she asked if we could go to bed early together, just to be close. I stayed up watching TV. Every time she mentioned Sloane's name, and I got defensive instead of honest. The afternoon she begged me to take the baby for an hour so she could shower. I said I had work calls. The night before the gala when she asked if I still found her beautiful, I said, of course, but I didn't look up from my phone. His hand moved faster. Every time I compared her to Sloane. Every time I made her feel like motherhood made her less. Every time I prioritized my ego over her heart. The list filled 2 pages. Then 3. By the time he stopped, his hand was cramping and his face was wet. He read it back. Every single moment, he'd had a choice. And he'd chosen wrong. The next morning, Bradley called his mother. I need to see Nina, he said. Not to ask for anything. Just to tell her something. Josephine was quiet for a long moment. I'll ask. No promises. An hour later, she texted. Saturday, 2 p.m. Park near my house. 30 minutes. I'll be there. Saturday arrived cold and bright. Bradley got to the park early. Sat on a bench near the playground. Watched families. Fathers pushing strollers, mothers chasing toddlers, couples holding hands. He'd taken all of it for granted. At 2 p.m. exactly, Josephine's car pulled up. Nina got out. The baby was with Josephine, strapped into a carrier on her chest. Nina walked toward him alone. She looked different. Stronger. Her hair was pulled back. She wore jeans and a sweater. No makeup. No armor. Just her. She sat on the other end of the bench. 3 feet of space between them. You have 30 minutes, she said quietly. Bradley nodded. Pulled out the notebook. I wrote down every time I chose myself over you in the last year, he said. Dr. Foster told me to. I thought it would be maybe 10 things. He handed her the notebook. Nina took it. Flipped through the pages. Her expression didn't change, but her breathing shifted. There's more, Bradley said. But I ran out of pages. Nina closed the notebook. Set it on the bench between them. Why are you showing me this? Her voice was carefully neutral. Because I need you to know I see it now, Bradley said. I see what I did. Not just at the gala. Every day before that. Every moment I made you feel small because I felt small. Nina looked away. Toward the playground where children screamed with joy. I blamed you for everything, Bradley continued. For being tired. For focusing on the baby. For not being who you were before. I punished you for changing. And you changed because you were keeping our daughter alive. His voice cracked. I'm not asking you to forgive me, Bradley said. I'm just asking you to know that I finally understand what I broke. And I'm sorry. Not because I have to be, but because you deserved better. And I failed you. Silence stretched between them. Nina wiped her eyes quickly. You did. I know. And sorry doesn't fix it. I know that too. Nina turned to look at him. Her eyes were red but dry. Then what do you want, Bradley? To be better, he said quietly. Not for you. For me. Because I don't want to be the man I was at that gala. I don't want to be Harold. And if I don't change now, I'll lose everything. Including myself. Nina studied him. Searching for lies. For performance. She found something else instead. Brokenness. Real, raw brokenness. Dr. Foster says I need to rebuild trust through action, not words, Bradley said. So I'm not asking to come home. I'm asking for permission to show up. To be the father our daughter deserves. To be respectful and consistent and present. Even if you and I never. His voice broke. Nina's hand moved slightly. Almost reached for him. Stopped. I can't promise anything, she said. I'm not asking you to. I don't know if I can ever trust you again. I understand. Nina stood. But you can see her. Our daughter. Supervised visits. At your mom's house. Saturdays. 2 hours. Bradley's breath caught. Thank you. Don't thank me. Nina's voice hardened slightly. Prove you mean it. Show up. Be consistent. Be the father she needs. And maybe, we'll see. She walked back to Josephine's car. Bradley watched her go. Josephine met his eyes through the windshield. She didn't smile. But she nodded. Once. It wasn't forgiveness. But it was a door left open. And for the first time in weeks, Bradley felt something besides shame. Hope. Fragile. Terrifying. Earned through pain. But hope. Did you feel that shift? That moment when hope cracked through the darkness? That's why stories like this matter. Subscribe. The climax is coming. Let's finish this together. 6 months passed. Every Saturday, 2 p.m., Bradley showed up at Josephine's house. He was never late. Never canceled. Never made excuses. He learned to change diapers. To warm bottles to the exact temperature. To recognize his daughter's different cries. Hungry. Tired. Overstimulated. He sat on the floor and stacked blocks. Read the same book 17 times in a row. Rocked her to sleep and didn't check his phone once. Nina watched from the kitchen. Arms crossed. Guarded. Waiting for him to slip. He didn't. At work, Bradley kept his head down. Completed his ethics training. Attended every quarterly review. Roland watched him carefully. Not with hostility, but with the quiet assessment of a man who believed in second chances, but never third ones. Bradley earned back small privileges. Client meetings. Team leadership on a minor project. Respect, given in increments. He didn't complain. And he didn't contact Sloan. She'd left the company 3 months ago. Moved to another city. Sent him one final text before she left. You were never going to leave her. I was stupid to believe you. He'd deleted it without responding. Because she was right. He'd never planned to leave Nina. He just wanted to feel important again. And he destroyed everything to feed his ego. In early November, Nina's lawyer called Bradley. Mrs. Mercer would like to discuss revising the custody agreement, Teresa said. She's proposing unsupervised visits. Overnights, eventually. Pending a conversation. Bradley's heart stopped. When? Thursday, 7 p.m. Josephine's house. Just the two of you. Thursday night. Bradley arrived 15 minutes early. Josephine answered the door. She's putting the baby down. Wait in the living room. He sat on the couch, the same one he'd sat on as a child, worn and familiar, and tried to steady his breathing. Nina appeared 10 minutes later. She'd changed since the separation. Softer in some ways, harder in others. She wore a gray sweater and jeans. Her hair was longer. She looked peaceful. She sat in the armchair across from him. Not beside him. The distance was intentional. You've been consistent, Nina said. No preamble. Just fact. I meant it when I said I wanted to change, Bradley replied. I know. Nina folded her hands. I've been watching. You show up. You're present. You don't perform for me anymore. You just are. Bradley nodded. But I need to know something, Nina continued. Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled slightly. If I let you back into our lives, really back, not just supervised Saturdays, can you promise me you won't go back to who you were? Bradley met her eyes. No. Nina blinked. What? I can't promise I won't mess up again, Bradley said quietly. I can't promise I'll be perfect, because I'm not. And pretending I am is part of what got us here. Nina's jaw tightened. But I can promise I'll keep doing the work, Bradley continued. Therapy twice a week. Accountability. Honesty, even when it's ugly. I can promise that if I start slipping, I'll tell you instead of hiding it. I can promise I'll choose you and our daughter over my ego. Every single time. Nina's eyes filled. I can promise I'll spend the rest of my life proving you didn't make a mistake by giving me another chance, Bradley said. His voice cracked. If that's what you're offering. Silence stretched between them. Nina wiped her eyes. I talked to Dr. Foster. Bradley's head jerked up. You did? She called me a month ago. Asked if we could meet. Said she wanted to make sure I was protecting myself. Nina's lips curved slightly. I liked her. We've been talking weekly. Bradley didn't know what to say. She told me something that stuck with me, Nina said. She said forgiveness isn't about forgetting. It's about deciding the past doesn't get to write the future. Bradley's chest tightened. I haven't forgotten what you did, Nina said quietly. The gala. The texts. The way you made me feel invisible while I was drowning. I'll never forget that. Bradley nodded. I wouldn't ask you to. But I've decided it doesn't get to be the whole story, Nina continued. Because our daughter deserves a father who's present. And I deserve a partner who sees me. And maybe, you're becoming that person. Hope flared in Bradley's chest. I'm not saying we're fixed, Nina said quickly. I'm saying I'm willing to try. Slowly. With boundaries. And the second you disrespect me or our daughter, I'm done. No second chances after this one. Understood. Understood, Bradley whispered. Nina stood. Walked to the window. Looked out at the dark street. Your mom told me something the night of the gala, she said. She said she stayed 40 years because no one ever told her she deserved better. That silence became her prison. Bradley stayed quiet. I'm not her, Nina said, turning back. I'm not staying out of fear or obligation. I'm staying because I want to see if the man you're becoming is worth rebuilding with. She crossed the room. Stood in front of him. Don't make me regret this, she said softly. Bradley stood. Looked into her eyes. I won't. Prove it. And then, slowly, carefully, like approaching something fragile, Nina reached out. Took his hand. Bradley's breath caught. Her hand was warm. Familiar. Home. We start slow, Nina said. Family dinners. Supervised at first. Then overnights with the baby. Then we see. Whatever you need, Bradley said. Nina nodded. Released his hand. Stepped back. Josephine wants you to stay for dinner, she said. The baby's awake. She'll want to see you. Bradley followed Nina into the kitchen. Josephine stood at the stove, the baby on her hip. She turned when they entered. Her eyes moved between them. Assessing. We're trying, Nina said simply. Josephine's expression softened. She looked at Bradley. Don't waste this. I won't, Bradley said. I swear. Josephine handed him his daughter. The baby grinned. Reached for his face with sticky hands. And Bradley held her close and felt the weight of what he'd almost lost. Everything. 1 year later. Thanksgiving. Josephine's house smelled like turkey and sweet potatoes and hope. The dining table was full. Jason and Emily and their kids at one end, Nina and Bradley and the baby at the other, Josephine at the head where she belonged. The baby, 15 months old now, walking and babbling and full of personality, sat in her high chair between her parents, smashing sweet potatoes into her hair. Nina laughed, wiped her daughter's face with a napkin. Bradley caught her eye. She smiled. A real smile. The kind that reached her eyes. It had taken a year to get here. A year of therapy, individual and couples. A year of rebuilding trust in increments. A year of Bradley showing up, over and over, until Nina finally believed he wouldn't disappear. They still lived separately. Nina had her own apartment now, a bright 2-bedroom near the park. Bradley visited 4 nights a week. Stayed over on weekends. They were taking it slow, but they were taking it together. Grace, Josephine said, pulling everyone's attention. Heads bowed. Lord, thank you for this food, Josephine began. Her voice was strong, clear. Thank you for second chances. For hard conversations. For the courage to choose ourselves even when it costs us everything. Nina reached under the table. Found Bradley's hand. Squeezed. He squeezed back. Thank you for growth, Josephine continued. For the painful, ugly, beautiful work of becoming better. And thank you for family, the ones we're born into and the ones we choose every single day. Amen. Amen. Everyone echoed. Dinner was loud, chaotic, full of laughter and spilled drinks, and the baby throwing food at her cousins. Bradley watched Nina across the table, relaxed, radiant, free, and felt gratitude so deep it hurt. After dinner, while everyone else watched football in the living room, Bradley helped Josephine with dishes. They worked in comfortable silence for a while. Then Josephine spoke. You've done well, she said quietly. Bradley looked at her. I'm trying. I know. Josephine handed him a plate to dry. I'm proud of you. The words hit him square in the chest. I spent 40 years watching Harold hurt me. Josephine continued. And I did nothing. I let my son see that. Learn from that. I failed you, Bradley. Mom, let me finish. Josephine's voice was firm. I failed you by not showing you what strength looked like. By teaching you that silence was survival. That women endure. She paused. But you broke the cycle. You did the work I never forced Harold to do. And you're becoming the man I should have demanded he be. Bradley's eyes burned. Don't stop, Josephine said. Even when it's hard. Even when Nina frustrates you or the baby keeps you up all night or work gets stressful. Don't go back to who you were. I won't, Bradley promised. Josephine smiled, patted his cheek. Good. Later that night, after everyone had gone home, Nina and Bradley sat on Josephine's porch. The baby was asleep inside. Josephine was reading in her chair. The neighborhood was quiet. Nina leaned against Bradley's shoulder. I never thought we'd get here, she said softly. Neither did I, Bradley admitted. There were so many moments I almost gave up, Nina said. Moments I was sure you'd go back to being him. The man at the gala. Bradley's arm tightened around her. I'm sorry I gave you reasons to doubt. I know. Nina looked up at him. But you also gave me reasons to hope. And that's why I stayed. They sat in silence, watching the stars. Your mom saved me, Nina said. That night, on the terrace, when she told me about the 40 years, about the cost of silence. She gave me permission to choose myself. She gave us both permission, Bradley said quietly, to be better than the people who hurt us. Nina nodded. I got an email from Roland yesterday, Bradley said. Nina sat up. And he's recommending me for VP consideration, pending final review. Bradley's voice was careful. He said I've demonstrated the kind of leadership the company needs. Humility, accountability, growth. Nina's face broke into a smile. Bradley, that's incredible. It wouldn't have happened without you, Bradley said. Without losing you. I needed to fall apart to figure out who I actually wanted to be. And who do you want to be? Nina asked. Bradley looked at her. Really looked. Your partner, he said. Our daughter's father. A man who keeps his promises. Someone you're proud to stand next to. Nina's eyes filled. You're already becoming him. Bradley kissed her forehead. Soft. Reverent. I love you, he said. I know I don't say it enough. But I do. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life showing you. I love you too, Nina whispered. The version of you that does the work. That shows up. That chooses us. They held each other in the cold November air. Inside, through the window, they could see Josephine rocking the baby, singing something soft. She's happy, Nina said. Your mom. I've never seen her like this. She's free, Bradley said. For the first time in 60 years, she's free. And watching his mother hold his daughter, 2 generations separated by pain but united in healing, Bradley understood something profound. Silence hadn't protected anyone, but truth was setting them all free. 3 months later, Nina and Bradley signed a new lease. Together, a 3-bedroom house with a backyard and a porch swing. Close to Josephine, close to family. The moving truck pulled away. Boxes everywhere. The baby toddled through the empty living room, laughing. Nina stood in the doorway, watching Bradley assemble a bookshelf. This feels right, she said. Bradley looked up, smiled. It does. I'm still scared sometimes, Nina admitted. That will slip back. Me too, Bradley said. But we won't. Because we're not the same people we were. Nina crossed the room, sat beside him on the floor. No, she said. We're not. And somewhere across town, Josephine Carter sat in her quiet house, a cup of tea in her hands, and smiled. She'd spent 40 years in silence. But her son had found his voice. Her daughter-in-law had found her strength. And her granddaughter would grow up watching love that chose itself every single day. Not perfect love, real love, the kind that breaks and rebuilds, the kind that costs everything and gives back more, the kind worth fighting for. Josephine closed her eyes and finally, felt peace. Not silence, peace. The difference, she'd learned, was choice. And she'd chosen well. If you're still here, heart full and eyes wet, thank you. Thank you for trusting me with your time. Here's my question. Have you ever had to choose between a comfortable lie and a devastating truth? Have you ever watched someone you love become someone you don't recognize? Have you ever found the courage to choose yourself when it cost you everything? Tell me in the comments. I read every one. Remember what I said about my mom? About proving her wrong? If this story touched something in you that felt untouchable, subscribe. Not just for me, but for the person scrolling tonight, heartbroken and desperate for proof they'll survive. You could be the reason they find this. One more thing, where did you watch this from? Drop your city below. I love seeing how far these stories travel. Until the next one, take care of your heart. Choose yourself when you need to. And remember, silence isn't strength. Truth is, peace isn't found in enduring. It's found in choosing. And you're stronger than you think.